What's up, my people? My people. I'm Luke with the Big Sky Investor Show. I hope you are doing well. I'm kind of goofy sometimes, so thanks for hanging with me. If you've listened to the show, you kind of know I'm kind of quirky. So, hey, I am so glad that you are here with me. I am very excited about where this show is going. I know there's been some hiccups along the way, but it's been a good learning process, and it's been fun to do and fun to document where I'm going, what I'm doing, and I think it'll be fun to look back on. And hopefully it'll help somebody either now or in the future in their journey. So wanted to talk today about what was I going to talk about? My people. What was I going to talk about? It was right there and then poof, gone. Oh, I know. I was going to talk a little bit about identity, family identity. So I want to do a more in-depth episode on this in the future, but this is something that I'm working on right now that I'm very excited about. It's kind of a sneak peek into a little project, I guess you could say, but it's really a big deal. Here's why. So what I'm working on is creating a very clear, concise, duplicatable, I'll come up with some other fancy words later, but family mission statement essentially is what I'm looking at doing, and family identity for the Anderson family. Okay. So the reason I'm doing that is, one, I identified that I want something that I can look at and I can be reminded of why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm going through the struggles of being a business owner, why I'm going through the struggles of being in real estate, why I'm going through the struggles of being in the different industries, why I'm pushing and learning and going forward and backward and struggling through all the health stuff that I've got. Why am I doing that? Why am I putting myself out there to make sure my family is provided for? Why am I doing what I do? Why am I who I am? Why am I trying to get to where I want to go? And also, how am I going to pass off what I've learned to future generations so that I can empower not only my children, but my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and my great-great-grandchildren and my great-great-great-grandchildren, and so on and so forth. How do I build my life and identity in a way that it can be passed on for future generations to look at and say, great grandpa Luke created this, or even if they don't remember me, but they have something to look at, like, this is who we are as a family, and this is what our family mission is, and this is how we build on that family mission. So I want my descendants to be able to stand on my shoulders. I mean, if you've ever heard the term standing on the shoulders of giants, we used to say that used to be spoken a lot in my family. And I just told my father recently that I've been able to stand on his shoulders, and he's been a huge giant in my life, both literally and figuratively, because he's taller than I am. But anyway, but I've been able to stand on his shoulders in a lot of ways because of what I've learned from him, and I'm becoming better at it. And then my kids will stand on my shoulders because I stood on his shoulders and he stood on his father's shoulder. You get the metaphor, right? So so I'm trying to figure out how to build this. So I'm spending a lot of time in coming up with a way to communicate that and a way to immortalize that, I guess. One thing that came to my mind when I was, let me back up. I was recommended a podcast by my sister, Teresa. She recommended a podcast that's called, Dad's Building Teams. It's a new podcast. It's done by a couple of guys. I can't remember their names exactly. They're very big in the pastoring world. As some of you may know, I'm a Christian, and this is a Christian-based podcast. excuse me, and the focus is, so far anyway, it's brand new, but it's basically focused around fathers who have built teams, that built their family as like a team. So like they have a family mission, and their family, all the members of their family participate in the family mission, and everyone knows what it is, and they move forward, whether that's a church or, you know, organization or a business or whatever, you know, like they have a family mission. The podcast is Christ focused, but I really liked what they said, because I've been toiling with how to communicate what I was just trying to explain to you, and I'm still not quite there. That's why I want to do a more in-depth episode later, because I'm still muddling through it. But they were talking about how biblically families are called to have like essentially a family mission. So if you think about it, look back on history, you've got people like the Carpenters, the Thatchers, the Porters, the Gates, all of these different names are tied directly to what their family did. What was their family tradition, their family heritage? Carpenter is an easy one. Carpenter, they were carpenters. They did woodworking. Like, that's what they did. And that skill of carpentry was passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation to generation, because that was their family identity. That was that's what their family did. They were the carpenters of their area. Like, that's what they did. And that's why they were Joe Carpenter, whatever. Right? So that, you know, using that example, so you've got people who are like blacksmiths, that, you know, Thatcher, they did roofs. You know, you got shoemaker who makes shoes, and you get the point, right? Like that historically throughout the world, whether they use a last name or not, like that trend can be traced in almost every culture. Like that skill or trait was unique to that family and was passed down to multiple generations. Then you have America. And America, and there's been other civilizations that have kind of done this, but not as dramatically as America. You've got America, the land of opportunity. People come to America to become whoever they want to be. Why is that unique? Well, because like I just said, in history, there really has never been a civilization where anybody could come here and literally do whatever they want. Literally. And some people, oh no, you can't because of blah 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 blah. And no, literally, if you can do anything in this country. I am a firm believer of that. Look at the most successful people in the world today, in any area of life, any industry. There are people that literally came from absolutely nothing. Nothing. Beyond nothing, right? This is maybe a rant for another time, but I'm very passionate about that. You can be anything in America. And the people that, oh, you can't because of sexism or racism or blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. That is a hurdle that you have to come over, that you have to overcome. You can, so maybe I should restate that. You can become anything in America if you're willing to persevere, be tenacious, be relentless, be resolute in who you are, what you want to do, and you bust through that wall, go out, over it, under it, around it, through it, I don't care. Get past that, because those are the people that change the world. You don't think Oprah Winfrey went through racism, sexism, all that garbage that everyone's using as excuses to hold themselves back? Are those real things? Yeah, absolutely. But they're just obstacles you have to overcome. Okay? And yeah, some of you are going to be like, oh yeah, white boy from Montana is talking to us about racism and sexism. Yeah, white male from Montana. Good job. Listen here. You can have that opinion. I still love you. Still love you. Don't agree with you, but I still love you. Okay? Anyway, I could go on that tangent, but I'm not even going to go down that tangent. So anyway, as much as I would love to. Anyway, getting off the political topic before Luke goes on a huge rant and like pisses a bunch of people off. Even more. I love going through political stuff. It's just fascinating. Politics and history, man. Anyway, my point is that you have these cultures where the family was known for something. Then all of a sudden there's America, and let's go to America and become whatever we want. And some people, they tried to reinvent the family, and so you had all these family businesses, which was cool. Some people were still shoemakers. They took the talent from their home country and brought it here and did the same thing. But eventually people were like the kids. So say like the mom came, and then the mom and they had kids, and their kids started working in their business, kind of like in the old country. And then their kids kind of went, but we can literally be whatever we want here. Why would I want to continue making shoes? Didn't we come to America to reinvent ourselves? We're still doing the same thing. Now, there's obviously some people that have turned those into dynasties, and those are the biggest brands that we know today. But by and large, most people came to America and were like, I'm going to do whatever the freak I want because this is America. I'm doing something for me. And then that bred a whole other area of, the successes and the people and the brands we know today. But one thing that has been interesting that I think that a lot of people can relate to is every generation basically hits the reset button. They go, okay, what am I going to do? So like, what's the number one question when you graduate? So what are you going to do? What college are you going to go to? Where are you going to do? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? You graduate college. So what are you going to do? 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 There's not that expectation of you're a carpenter. You're going to go into carpentry. You're going to go into carpentry. You're going to further the carpentry business. Maybe you're not going to stay at the same level as your dad because that's not what was expected. You're supposed to build on that and become even better, right? I'm going to go to a trade school for carpentry to further my family carpentry business. My family are all pastors. I'm going to continue to gain more and more education and more understanding of the word so that I can become a better pastor. We're bakers. We bake, and I'm gonna go to culinary school to become an even better baker because I have more opportunity. So there's not that pride of that family of origin. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, I'm still kind of muddling through it a little bit, but so my point with that is that there's this struggle that people go through, specifically Americans and westernized countries, because there's other countries that have adopted this mindset too, right? But every generation has to reset and go, who am I? What am I going to do? What's my identity? Like, how am I going to make it through life? And that becomes contentious for families. You've got, the doctor whose kid becomes an artist. You've got the rancher whose kid becomes a poet. You've got, you've got the poet whose kid becomes a doctor. You've got whatever it may be, right? There's a lot of contention there. People can, I didn't meet up to my parents' expectations because I didn't do what they wanted me to do, right? I think we all can relate to that. But it's like we're hitting the reset button and we're having to go through a lot of the same struggles that are really not necessary. So my thought was, what if that skill, that one thing, that legacy that got passed down through my family, starting with me, was something that would allow future generations to still do what they wanted to do, regardless of what it was in, but it still built the Anderson family mission and plan 10 generations from now. Why can't I come up with something like that? So what if my one skill is building systems? So no matter what they do, they have the tools and the expectation in place that they will put a system in place to, like, at least on the business side, monetize it so it becomes a business so they can truly enjoy it and not have to worry about and go through a lot of the same struggles that previous generations did? Or what if we teach them to have better financial literacy and how to invest in real estate, and then, but they love being in law enforcement? I mean, just a random example, right? Or they love horses. What if we could, I could teach my kids, say one of my kids goes, Dad, one of my kids is like, I want to go into equestrian stuff. I want to do horsey stuff. And one guy's like, I want to be a cop. Okay, great. So are you going to live off of those incomes? No, we're Andersons. Like, you are going to go and you're going to be the best damn cop in the world. You're going to be the best damn equestrian person in whatever, I mean, there's a million areas in equestrian. The best damn horse therapist or jockey, you get the point. But to help make that happen, while you're getting your education and going through that process, you're going to work in the family business in the real estate and learn how to acquire 5 fourplexes so that the cash flow from those allows you to pay off those fourplexes and for you to live on, so that you don't have to rely on the income from being a cop or being a horse, being in the horsey business. Then those two things truly become labors of love, and the money doesn't matter. How powerful would that be? Say as an example, they love being in the horse stuff, but then they don't have to worry about money. Like, how awesome of a horse therapist would they be if they didn't have to worry about money, because they took what I developed and they implemented in their life so that money was no longer an object for them. That it wasn't a hurdle. And so everything they did because they loved it. Wouldn't that be cool? And then what if they said, hey, you know what? Because of what Dad built, I have the tools to build systems to develop my horse therapy business. Now I'm to the point where I only want to take X amount of clients, but I want to take 10 clients a month, but I want to help 100. I now have the infrastructure and the knowledge and the skill and the teams and the people to build a system where I can help 100 people a month with me only working with 10. Because now I can build the systems. Now I'm going to retire because I'm too tired to help people. But now I'm helping 1,000 people a month, and I'm not even working in the business anymore. I'm just going and being with my horses. Now that gets added to the Anderson family portfolio. Boom. Now then we move on to the next thing. Okay, and then the other guy, he becomes a cop, and then he goes, you know what? I got shot. That'd be horrible. But, say my son gets shot and he gets disabled. He doesn't have to rely on his income anymore. From being a cop. He never had to. He was always relying off of his real estate or whatever else he developed. And then he goes, you know what, but the skill I learned, I can build a training business, a firearms training business, or a negotiating training business, and I'm going to scale that so that it will run without me eventually. Boom, that gets added to the family portfolio. See what I mean? And I'm still working through this on exactly how it'll be, but the main concept is how to develop something that will outlive me and will be able to encompass whatever the passions of my descendants have, but that can still be brought in to better the family mission and business. Because then if, say, they develop that horse therapy business and that firearms training business or whatever, and from being, or private defense or whatever, they build those businesses, and then they learn things that can be brought into other businesses in the Anderson portfolio. See where I'm going with that? Think about it this way. Even if they just went and they took something from what I've built, the infrastructure and things like that, and they were able to develop a life where, like I said, they were doing whatever they wanted to out of a labor of love, and they didn't have to worry about money. You know what that also brings? That also brings more time. That brings more time. When you don't have to, what's expensive time-wise? It's expensive from a time perspective. Is being in debt, like bad debt. Good debt, another story. But bad debt, like having like financial struggles, takes a lot of time. I've been there. It sucks. imagine, and it takes a lot of mental power. Imagine the amount of time and the amount of attention and presence that my descendants will have, because they don't have to worry about the same things that you and I are worrying about today, because I developed the system so that they don't have to worry about those. If they're worrying about them, it's because they chose to ignore everything I provided for them, or that our family provided for them. But then they can become, like I said, labor of love. Whatever they're doing, it's now a labor of love. Number two, now they're better parents because they're more present with their children. They're better spouses because they're more present with their spouses. They're better friends because they're more present and spend more time with their friends. They're better siblings. They're better sons. They're better daughters. They're better grandsons, better granddaughters, because they have the time and the mental energy and focus to look at what truly is important in life, and that's the other people. That's really what it boils down to, is being able to invest in people. Because at the center of all that, at least for me and my family, like I said, we believe in God. We believe in Christ Jesus. And whether you're a Christian or not, it doesn't matter. Hopefully you can understand my point of where you're at in your life or your faith. But like for us, our core mission is to spread the good news of Jesus and to be evangelistic. Now, I don't mean like Jehovah's Witness going to the door and knocking like, have you heard the good word of Jesus? Like that's not what I'm about. Like, I want to show people the blessings that God has for them. I want to show them that if they change their mind, change their life, that they can have blessings. So Christ is at the center of all of this. How better of an evangelist, how much better of a server of somebody who does somebody in mission trips, how much better would they be if they didn't have to worry about the financial aspect of things, and they didn't have to stress about whether they had a job when they get back from their mission trip or not? How many more lives do you think that they can touch, even silently, when they're able to give of their time and not worry about missing work or being too tired for work or whatever the normal stress we have of today? If they have extra money that they can give it anonymously, like, just think of, the blessing possibility is endless when you remove the struggle of finances and where your next check is coming from, and when you have financial security. Possibilities are endless. So, kind of went on some tangents there. What I'm doing is, like I said, I'm trying to craft what that looks like, craft that into words and summarize that more. And I'm going to create a coat of arms. So if you've ever seen that, my one side of my family has some medieval history, and in Cornwall, England, on the Cornish side of the family, we're Cornishes. That's on my mom's side. But at one point they had a coat of arms. I don't know what it is, but a coat of arms, from what the research I've been doing, is a coat of arms originally was supposed to be for a family or an individual to allow them. Basically, it was a brand. It was like the original branding and logoing of the world, at least in Europe, I should say. So people could look at it and know this is who they are, this is what they do as a person or as a family. So keeping with that same that same concept of like, this family does X. This was a visual representation of who their identity was as a family. It just happened to get carried on and like passed down, and became like a status thing, because it got passed down. It wasn't like every generation created their own. Now it did for a little while. From what I've read is that, and research, is that it was like someone created it, then the next generation or two like added to it or like tweaked it a little bit to make it more relevant, which is cool. So like I said, I'm sure my family has family crests way back. I don't know what those are specifically. I don't really care. At first I thought I wanted to incorporate that, but I want to make it totally my own and relevant to here and now, and for moving forward from this point forward. Like, there'll be some odes or some recognition of like where I came from and where my wife came from, because she's from India, and being able to like show the merging of two races, two cultures. I think that'll be really cool. But anyway, but the whole point is to depict who I am as a person and who I want my family to be. Like what the vision for my family is. And it will be immortalized in this family coat of arms. And it will be very intricate. It will be very detailed, very symbolic. It will have our name on it. It will have different characters and elements to it that symbolize different things, like in a coat of arms do. There's a structure to how you build a coat of arms. And then it will have our motto, which will basically be like our family, like executive summary, or our family, I guess like our family executive summary. Like a few words that are just a one sentence motto that encapsulates our family identity. And then below that will be like our family mission statement. So it'll be spelled out like what our mission is as Andersons. So I'm working on building that. I'm very excited about it. And then there'll be a family coat of arms. And then within that, there's a crest. So like a simpler version, basically. So anyway, so that will be, ultimately, it'll take some time to develop and build, but ultimately that'll be the Anderson brand. And it will be a visual reminder of who we are, what we do, what we teach our children, like how we better society, how we better our fellow man, how we spread the good news of Jesus, like everything about our life. It will be like, it falls within these parameters. Like this is what we do, and everything we do has to fall within that. So anyway, went on a little bit longer rant than I wanted to. That's what I'm working on. I'll go into a more in-depth episode maybe another time and explain all that once I have more figured out, and maybe have a rendering or two. So I can have it visually in my head. I just haven't gotten it and I've started to put it out there, but I can't draw worth a darn. And like, I don't graphic design at all. So like, I just did like a little mock-up on an app, and it looks like it would be a great like family crest if it was like going in a baby nursery. Like that's the quality. Anyway, so thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening to my rant on that. I will see you on the next episode.